Okay, hello everyone. This is Gary D. Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com. I'm testing out this live streaming. I wanted to do this month's photo contest with the live stream. I went through the whole thing and I just realized that I messed up the whole thing. So I have to redo it and we'll see if this works any better. I'm just experimenting with the live stream and see if this is something that's worth doing in the future or if it's better to just make the videos. So, welcome to this broadcast. Again, this is Gary D. Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com. Hopefully this time it'll run much smoother. At least I know what I want to say about the pictures. The pictures were great this month, really nice, and there's a lot of quality and some great images at the end. Special surprise, more than one winner. There's no particular order into how I've ordered the photos, but I did save a few of the better ones to last, so maybe the last couple, last two or three, they're in a particular order, but the rest are all kind of mixed in. So let's get started looking at the images. We'll head over to Lightroom. And first of all, this is a nice image. We have this bridge leading to what looks like a lighthouse, and it's really cool how you lined up the top of this thing with the sun coming through the clouds. It looks like it's the light at the top of the lighthouse. So I really like how you did the composition. This is in the third of the frame. There's a nice leading line here. The exposure in the sky is pretty good. You do have a little bit of issues here. No matter what though, this part is so bright, you're going to have some overexposure. So I think you did the best you could with that. I wouldn't worry about that. The image does seem to be in focus and sharp. And a couple things I would do to it in post-processing though. I think it could have a little bit of help in post-processing. Number one, I don't think it needs this branch at the top. So you could crop it more into a panel, and so I'll just take it down just to get rid of the branch. And so right away I think it puts more emphasis on the subject. Again, it's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. That's why I'm doing it live. If you want to comment live, you can, or if you want to comment after the stream is over, feel free to do so. Also, we can take down the highlights just a little bit, and it'll bring back a little detail, especially if you have the raw file. What I don't want you to do is take the highlights all the way down, because that messes up the highlights in the rest of the image, and you're never going to get back everything you got here, and it even discolors this section. So, you know, if you have the raw file, just take it down just a little bit. I have it down -24, so that's just enough to get rid of some of that highlight. Now, we can recover some of this detail here. Even in this JPEG, I was able to recover some detail with the shadow slider. And if I boost that up, I can boost it up quite a bit. And look at the detail that I was able to recover in this lighthouse. You can take a quick look at the before and after. And you can see, just with that one slider, it really brought out a lot of detail here. And I think that helps. Again, you might post-process it different, but I think that is an improvement. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. Alright, the bark. Number one, you know, it was a good idea to do this because it's a really great texture. You have good contrast in this image. And it was a good idea to do it in black and white. So what I would do is maybe just pull down the highlights just a little bit. It's a little bit overexposed. And maybe add just a little bit more contrast, but you did a pretty good job. Now, because the tree is not completely flat, the tree is rounded, the stuff in front here is going to be more in focus than the things back here. And that's just the way it's going to be. You could try using a smaller f-stop. I don't know what you used. I don't have the EXIF data, but could have tried something like f8, f11, maybe even f16 if you needed that extra depth of field. It's a good image. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that the subject just doesn't compete with some of the later subjects. That's really the only thing that was not helping you there. It's a perfect shot for your own collection, but if we're talking about it being more than a snapshot, trying to maybe compete with some of the other images, it just the subject isn't helping you in this case. All right, now this image is interesting because it's got an interesting old building here, a lot of texture there. Then we've got this window that's kind of a leading line pointing this way, and then we've got this wind chime with a feather coming down this way. It's interesting, it looks great in black and white. I like it, but it's hard to say what the subject is. Is it the subject this interesting building? Is the subject the wind chime? Is it the window? It's all sort of, you know, not a simple story. What are you trying to tell us with this photo? Are you saying, hey, look at the interesting building, or hey, look at the interesting wind chime? I'm not quite sure. Technically, it's in focus. The exposure's not bad, except you do have some overexposure in the sky because of that cloud. Again, if you shot it in RAW, you could probably take that highlight down enough where it wouldn't be much of a problem. Okay, now the German Shepherd image. This image is great in one respect because you caught an interesting subject just at the right moment where, excuse me, where he's giving us a nice gesture, a nice expression. It's a big dog, so it's interesting, and he's giving us that nice little head tilt. However, there are some composition problems that we can look at. The first thing is that you can see that this wall back here is very bright, and it's with this clock, and the clock is kind of circular. To me, that's like a target. So when you look at this picture, where does your eye go first? To me, my eye goes right to the bright wall and right to this circle, and it goes right past the dog, and the dog is supposed to be the subject, so the dog should be brighter than the background. It should be highlighted as the subject. Okay, and so probably the only way you're going to achieve that in this kind of setting is, number one, maybe you can shut off the light that's back here, and number two, you probably have to light the dog. Use a strobe or something and actually light the dog. Take this, if you can, take the strobe off camera, put it off to the left side, and shoot it across at him, and you'll end up with a much nicer image. Again, remember, we're trying to make images, not just take the images that we're given. So it looks like you did a good job of capturing the image that you were given. Next time, try to take it to the next level and create the image that you want. All right, the other thing here is there's some clothing here, either a shirt or a jacket. And again, it's lighter than the dog, so it catches your eye before you get to the dog. And again, it's conflicting with the subject. Cropping wise, we'll just watch your edges. You cut off a pore down here and a pore over here. So just make sure that you include the whole subject, or that you are intentionally cutting off something with your cropping. This almost looks accidental. So a nice image, but it does have some issues that just need to work on a little bit. Okay, here we have the butterfly image. It's selective color, where the background is black and white, and the butterfly, the monarch, is color. It's nice. The butterfly did look like it was in focus. The exposure looks great. The background is blurred out, and it looks like a nice flower. I would say that you have to watch your backgrounds. So having this house or whatever this is as the background is not the optimal condition, because we can see all these bright spots, and that distracts from the subject. So try next time. I know it's difficult. It may be impossible if the butterfly flies away. But if you can find a cleaner background, maybe shoot the butterfly with the grass as the background, or maybe point up, shoot the butterfly with the sky as the background, or any more solid colored thing would give you a nicer background here. Oh, also, I'm going to try to find a way to have you guys submit larger images. Make sure, if you're going to submit a JPEG, that it's at least, let's say, 1280 pixels on the longest side. I'm not sure what this one is, but it's kind of small here for us to look at. And maybe even I'll have a way to submit RAW files for next time. We'll see. I have to check that out. But it's a good job. Just watch your backgrounds. Okay, here we have a nice sunset, and first thing I would do probably is to crop it. I don't think we need this tree branch, And you'll notice that the horizon line is in the center of the image. So we can get two things done here. So we can crop out the branch, and now this moves our horizon line to the upper third. Also, I would probably take off a little bit of the bottom. It's a little heavy down there with so much black, with the visual weight in this photo. So I think that a little bit of cropping it into a panel like that will help it a bit. Overall, the exposure and the sharpness looks good. It's a nice subject. I like the composition. No problems there. I think it's just a little bit of cropping and it's fine. Okay, here we have more of a snapshot. You did a great job again of capturing that moment when it happens, and it's a great family shot. But if you were talking about a photo that we're trying to make instead of just take, it doesn't really fit into that category necessarily. It's not going to have such an easy time competing against some other images. You can see there's a lot of distraction in the background. This looks like a picnic or something going on in the background over here. We can see cars over here with highlights. If we ignore all that and just look at the subjects, you did a pretty good job there. The exposure looks pretty good, and you did a great job of catching the decisive moment where the dog is giving them a kiss. Focus wise though, one thing to watch out for is that he does appear to be sharper than the eye of the dog, and the eye of the dog is very important. And I think it's because possibly that the subjects are tilted at an angle away from the camera. So you would have needed probably a little bit smaller aperture to, get the dog a little bit more in focus. It's close, but it's not quite pin sharp on the dog's eye, and that's where we need it to be. Okay, here we have, it zoomed in. Here we have another dog image, a lab. And this image has great potential because it's got such a great story. There's great action here. I love all the water droplets being sprayed all over, and you caught it at a nice time, sunset in the background. So it's a great job. And you did get the dog's nose in focus. You can see that here. My main problem with this image is that there's not enough depth of field. And because the dog's black and there's not much light, this whole area of the face is all black. We can't see any detail there. And so that, especially not being able to see the dog's eyes, that's a bit of a problem. It's a little bit muddy in this area. And focus-wise, not only are the dog's eyes, we can't tell if they're in focus, we can't really see them, but we can tell because a lot of the water is not in focus. But we can tell that the nose is in focus. So make sure you focus on the eyes, usually the closest eye to you. And maybe use a little bit of, I know in this case, because you probably didn't have much light, you probably couldn't use a smaller aperture, but it's a, good job seeing this action and capturing it. It's pretty close, It's your dog, great family photo, but it does have a few little technical flaws in that regard. Watch the cropping. You cropped off the bottom of the legs. I'm not quite so concerned about this one, and this one looks like you intentionally did crop it off at the bottom. So I don't think that's the big problem. To me, the bigger problem is the muddiness and the focus around the eyes. But a nice image. It would have been a contender had it not had those problems. Okay, here we have a seagull image, and I had last time I did mess around with the highlights. So you can see here that there are some overexposed areas. So anytime you shoot a white bird, you really have to be careful. You almost have to underexpose it a little bit just to make sure that the highlights don't overexpose. If you have the raw file, you can probably bring these in enough where it may not be much of a problem. Even here on the JPEG, it's doing a pretty good job of bringing in those highlights. What I really like about it is that you really have a nice sharp image here. That eye is tack sharp. I can see all kinds of feather detail. So you did a great job capturing it. Capturing birds in flight is not easy, and this is really well done. And it must have been a sharp lens too, because I see nice detail everywhere. I even like the composition. We can see the birds moving into the image. There's room for it to fly. The color of the sky looks nice, and the cropping is fine. I really like this image. I think seagulls are very common, and so I don't tend to the degree of difficulty of finding a seagull to get this kind of shot may not be that great. So that would maybe be the one reason I didn't have it in the finalists. But it's a great image. You didn't do anything wrong. Good job. Okay, here we have another dog image, and this one's well done as well. The cropping is interesting because you cropped off one eye, yet it looks intentional. It doesn't look accidental. And it looks like you did some post-processing to this to give it sort of a film look. It looks like it's a little bit low contrast, like that, you know, a little bit older film look. And I like the backgrounds, nice and clean and simple. The color matches the color of the dog, and the diagonal lines kind of lead to the dog, and it's a great image, and it was one of the contenders. There's nothing wrong with it. I just found some other images just a little bit stronger. Okay, here we have the last two images, and I'm going to show them together for a very special reason. I don't normally do this, but I liked both of these images so much that I couldn't quite decide which one was going to be the winner. So I decided that this month there's two winners, and I couldn't quite decide because I think the subjects are so different. It's tough to tell, you know, which one is better, and there's not one better than the other. They're both good. Oh, I went the wrong way. So let's just take a look at it. I think what they have in common, what makes them so good, is both images took a lot of planning and setup. It's an image that was made on purpose, not an image that was just, you know, you happened upon it and you happened to capture it. So in this case with the glasses, this is just great. I mean, look how perfectly these glasses are all lined up in a row, and you can see that repeating pattern going off to a vanishing point. And I think that's just great. And the light is beautiful. It's backlit. You know, the green on the table looks great. The background plants here are out of focus. The bokeh looks nice. It's not really, there's one little spot of overexposure, but it's not a big deal. Obviously the sun bokeh is going to overexpose a little bit. The exposure is great. The concept is very nice. The photo is very nice. I really liked it. And this photo was by James, I believe, so good job. I really like that image. Same thing here. You can tell that, you know, some planning went into this because number one, the composition of the image is nice. We've got the lines of the telephone wires or electric lines here, and then the lightning coming down. It just is a nice setup. And just capturing lightning anytime is, you know, a great photographic feat. So the fact that you've got a nice composition and lightning, you know, it just makes a really nice image. It's kind of small for us to see any other details, but the toning looks good. It's, you know, a storm. I don't know if he toned it on purpose like that or if that's actually how it looked. But either way, it's believable that the storm could look like that. I think so, in my opinion anyway. So I thought it was a great image, and that was by Diane Duffy, I believe. So we have James and Diane are our winners this month. Congratulations to both of you. And if you send me an email, I'll send you the link to your free course. Again, congratulations to everyone that entered. I'll be posting soon the next month's theme. And we'll see you next time. This has been Gary D. Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com.